So what we're watching right now is one of the biggest corporate showdowns we've seen in a long time, the epic fight to own the legendary Warner Bros. Studio. But, this isn't your typical story of a big company just getting bigger. There's this totally weird twist right at the heart of this deal, and it's got Wall Street completely scratching its head.
And that's really the big question, right? It seems like the closer Netflix gets to actually sealing this deal, to acquiring this massive media empire, the more its own investors just run for the hills. It's a paradox that honestly just gets stranger and stranger the deeper you dig.
Yeah, and this number right here, it says it all. Over the last 6 months, while Netflix has been chasing this monster deal, its stock has just cratered by more than a third. I mean, that is a catastrophic drop for a company that, on paper, should be on the verge of a huge win.
So this crazy situation, this complete disconnect, we're calling it Netflix's billion-dollar paradox. The very prize they are fighting so hard to win is being treated like poison by the market. Let's dig in and break down exactly why.
Look, investors are basically screaming from the rooftops here. They are not excited about this deal. In fact, they are actively betting against it happening. They seem to be convinced that if Netflix actually wins Warner Bros., the company will have made a colossal, value-destroying mistake. Okay, so to really get why everyone's freaking out, you gotta know who's actually in this fight. Because yeah, Netflix made the first move, but this thing has now exploded into a full-on two-way battle for control. So on one side, you've got Netflix, the original bidder. They already have what's called a binding agreement, which means Warner Bros. Basically said yes to their first offer. But then on the other side, Paramount Skydance just swooped in with a sweetened new offer that is reportedly way, way higher. So now the pressure is on Netflix. They've got just 3 days to figure out a counteroffer.
And, stuck right in the middle of all this is the Warner Bros. Discovery CEO, David Zaslov. He's the master negotiator here, and this internal email shows he's walking this insane tightrope. He's got to acknowledge this juicy new bid from Paramount while also reminding everybody, hey, we're still contractually bound to the Netflix deal. It's a really delicate and legally tricky balancing act.
All right, so we know the players. Now let's look at how Wall Street is voting with its dollars. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because the stock prices are telling us everything we need to know about who investors want to win this fight.
And the timing here is absolutely everything. Check this out. Netflix's stock started to just fall off a cliff right around early December. And that's precisely when it looked like their bid for Warner Bros. Was a done deal. It's like the closer they got to victory, the harder the stock got hammered. But get this. Look at the flip side. During that exact same time frame, Warner Bros. Discovery's stock shot up over 140%. The market is practically yelling that it wants this sale to happen. It just doesn't seem to want Netflix to be the one buying.
Okay, and here's the last piece of this puzzle, the real kicker. What happened to Paramount, the other bidder? Well, their stock actually went down when it looked like Netflix had the whole thing locked up. Their investors were worried that they weren't going to get Warner Bros.
So what does this all mean? We've got this perfect investor inversion. Netflix's investors are terrified of their company winning, while Paramount's investors are terrified of their company losing. The market has clearly picked its favorite, and it is not Netflix. The billion-dollar question, of course, is why?
And that brings us to this classic business idea, the theory behind this whole market reaction. It's called the winner's curse. Basically, it's the idea that in a bidding war, the winner often ends up overpaying so badly that the victory itself becomes a total disaster. And right now, Wall Street is pretty convinced that's exactly the trap Netflix is about to fall into.
Okay, so a big part of the why comes down to how these deals are structured. See, Paramount's plan is super simple. Just buy the whole company, lock, stock, and barrel. Netflix's plan, it's way, way more complicated. They only want the profitable movie studio and all that amazing IP. They want to get rid of the declining cable networks like CNN and Discovery by spinning them off into a whole new company. And right there, that spin-off plan, that is a massive red flag for investors. They'd be left holding shares in this brand new company made up of shrinking cable assets with a very, very uncertain future. And we've seen this movie before. When NBC Universal did a similar spin-off called Versant, it did not go well for the shareholders.
And it's not just the messy deal structure. If Netflix wins, they are basically signing up for a world of hurt. We're talking years of regulatory battles, antitrust investigations, basically the government poking around to see if one company should own this much content.
And on top of that, if the Warner Brothers board picks Netflix's bid over a higher one from Paramount, you can bet they'll get hit with a ton of lawsuits from their own shareholders.
I mean, this quote from an analyst just nails it. The consensus on Wall Street seems to be that even if Netflix wins this thing, their stock is not going to benefit. The cost, the complexity, all the regulatory headaches, it could all just wipe out any value they'd get from owning the studio. They could literally lose by winning.
Okay, so why does any of this Wall Street drama matter to you? Well, because the outcome of this fight is going to fundamentally change the entertainment world for all of us for years to come.
And believe me, this isn't something that's going to drag on. The whole thing is moving at lightning speed. Paramount just tossed in their new bid. The board's looking at it right now. Netflix has a deadline in just 3 days to fire back, and we're expecting an answer by Thursday. The clock is seriously ticking. Whoever wins this thing doesn't just get a company. They get the keys to the entire kingdom. We're talking about Batman, Harry Potter, Superman, 100 years of iconic movies and shows. This single decision will decide who controls a huge piece of our culture and what the future of streaming is going to look like for every single one of us.
And all of this leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending question. When you're facing a furious market, a super complex deal, and a mountain of problems down the road, is it possible that for Netflix, the only real winning move is to just walk away?